Yeah. Operation Rapper in position. We still here. Operation Rapper in position. Fam. All the gods and goddesses. Iron sheep. Hip hop lives, yo. The deaf won't hear and the blind won't see the hidden message in the words of Drew Ali. Inept, indirectly, Boo Ali, one of the names of the prophets internationally. Drew said Moors, proclaiming nationality, cause you're not Ethiopian or NBC. So he founded America's MST in 28. Me saying that they will cause debates are needed to clear up the mess, but most debate so they can big up their chest to prove what they know and what they can do. Recreating the wheel that was created by Drew. When you know the truth, many debate, but few humble themselves and suppress the jungle in self.
Islam. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth, peace,
freedom,
and justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Islam.
You don't want light, right?
No, it's all good. You don't need it. You don't need it.
Okay.
Should be alright. Islam, peace and love. Welcome to Canaanland Moors class. We will start with our letters to be read every meeting. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam, I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the last few years. Islam. We had a few questions today, so before we get into the topic at hand today, which is status, we're just gonna go through the email and get some of these questions answered, which more than likely will lead us down the same road. Can we put that on a lower thing? Okay. What is peace and love, bro?
Martin, you know?
It should be the one with the fan on it.
How you doing?
Everything's good. How you doing? Good. You can just have a seat anywhere. So the question is, what is the correct term? Moor, M-O-O-R, or Moor, M-U-U-R? Moorish or Moorian? M-U-U-R-I-A-N. Now, when you look at M-O-O-R, look at Moor, and Moor, both of these are the same, dark-skinned people, right? M-U-U-R Moor is tied to New Atlantis, right? Lemuria, and M-O-O-R deals with Morocco, and then if we could even add on, you could say M-A-U-R, and then that's Mauritania, and etc. Because there's different variations. We say M-O-H-R is another variation, right? M-A-U-R-E, another variation. So you have situations where people want to claim more as they started it, or because they have a spelling that's different than Noble Drew Ali, that means that their stuff applies to a separate jurisdiction. And when, regardless of how you spell it, you're talking about dark-skinned people. Regardless of how you're spelling it, you're talking about Aboriginal and indigenous people. All right. So don't get caught in the confusion that if you're new coming into this information, don't get caught up in the confusion that there's different spelling means it's different Moors. It's one group of Moors, right? Dark-skinned people, and the spelling would just determine on what language they were speaking, what jurisdiction or what landmass they were on. You know what I mean? But it doesn't take away from the fact that it's dark-skinned people. You're all of them. So if you want to say Moor, if you want to say M-U-U-R, M-O-H-R, whatever, just make sure that what you're applying to yourself, you can defend it, because you are going to get challenged if you start talking about you're a Moor and spelling it different ways than Noble Drew Ali brought. Because remember that we're using Noble Drew Ali as a reference. So in using him as a reference point, that sort of gives us an idea of where we're gonna go with certain things. So Noble Drew Ali never mentioned Moor, M-U-U-R, ever. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, no. Doesn't mean that we should disregard it, no. It just means that there's more information, and Noble Drew Ali's position was to give Moors information so that they can study for themselves, not so that they can listen to him and be in this closed-minded perspective. Well, Noble Drew Ali said so. If he didn't say it, then it doesn't apply. When that's not the case, because he himself told Moors that they should study. All right. You have any add-ons with that? More? All right. The other question that we got was, I was wondering if you suggest a certain way to go about getting property by claiming estate, or if there are any books, letters, devices you would recommend. You got something for that?
I would suggest that in my mind, that is not where we are at right now. We are not about trying to what's the word? We're not trying to capture anything.
Right.
We're trying to basically uplift our nation.
Right.
And once you get to the level of knowledge, then you will be able to exercise that kind of activity.
Right. So once you get to the level of knowledge, so with regard to questions of we'll call them active questions or activity questions. Right. When it comes to Moorish activity, either you know what you're doing, right, or don't do it.
That's right.
Simple as that. If
Wow.
you see a building and then the building has a sign on it saying abandoned and you have to come ask,
Yeah.
oh, how do I claim that? I saw that there's an abandoned building. How do I claim that? Then you're not ready to go claim anything. Because as soon as you claim it, by being told, the policy enforcers have stuff that they're going to implement when you claim it automatically. And then you don't have the luxury of, getting help with that situation that you now have to deal with, right? You should have the knowledge automatically of what something is, right? You should have already in your mind how you're gonna deal with a particular active role, right? These work, right? You have to deal with it on a knowledge base, and it's just like anything else. If we have, oak tree out there and it's, this wide, and we throw somebody a chainsaw, go cut the tree. If you never used a chainsaw before, that tree will fall on you and kill you. You know what I mean? If you never used a chainsaw before, you might cut your leg off. You might cut your arm off. So, in no way do we, you never see the guy on the bench take the winning shot. You know what I mean? Why would he? He's not qualified to take the winning shot. You know what I mean? You don't see the quarterback throwing to the suckiest guy on the last play. You're going to throw to the guy who could catch the ball. Right? So in speaking about activity, it is extremely important, especially in this day and time right now where, Moors are getting shot and stuff like that. You want to make sure that you know what the hell you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you have no excuses when stuff goes haywire. Because things will go haywire if you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's just how it goes. It's not even anything that we have to, you know what I mean? But the energy, the vibration that people's minds, souls, bodies, different bodies, etheric bodies, whatever, go through when they get into this information, it creates a sense of invisibility, like, nothing could happen to Moors because we have this superior information that nobody else has. When the reality is that we're just being brought into this superior information. People been had this information, been using it, been doing whatever they do, and we're just picking up on it, and we think we're the masters of it when we just got it yesterday. And then we want to go implement something like, claim a property when we don't even know what property means. We don't even know what allodial means. We don't even know what a claim is. You know what I mean? So there has to be a lot more extensive studying being done if you're going to be speaking from being active, because there's Moors that we know that are active that never claimed anything. They don't even exercise right to travel or nothing like that, but they're some of the most active Moors. Why? Because their activity is based in what Noble Drew Ali told the Moors they're supposed to be active in. And what the Moors are supposed to be active in is uplifting their people.
Islam.
The duty of Moors is to educate civilization. That's the template that Moors have been following since there's been people called Moors. Everybody knows that, when you talk about Moors, you're talking about the people that educated people. You're talking about the people that had libraries, and they had mosques that were schools, and they had, universities and manuscripts and things having to do with obtaining information. So we're not saying, don't do the property thing and all that. We're saying know what you're doing. And if you're in a position that you want to do those things, I would suggest that you start with, there's a lecture on YouTube by Brother Taj Tariq Bey about mortgage fraud. There's also a mortgage fraud section on the RV Bay Publications website that will give you insight into property and things like that. There's also a book on RV Bay talking about personal property that you need to get if you're going to be talking about claiming properties and stuff like that, because you know it's really not about did you claim it or did you not claim it. It's about what is your energy, what is your frequency, what are you vibrating on when you went and claimed it, right? Where were you in your frame of mind? Where were you in your heart? Are you claiming that because you realize that, damn, that's like a, you know, opportunity for me to, you know, have a mansion with the pillars in the front and whatever, and I'm a Moor, so I can get that for free? Or are you doing that because you know that that could be an embassy that can help other people? That could be a regency. That can be a jurisdiction that we can call a school for the Moors. If you're doing any type of claiming and it's for yourself, more than likely it's not going to work from the jump, right? Because this is nationhood. So as soon as you say I'm claiming the property because I whatever, they already know where you're coming from when you approach, and they'll deal with you accordingly, like we know from Moors who have gone through that process and failed. The failure comes from individuals who are doing things prematurely. I mean, that's just what it is, right? If you have any further stuff, you can send another email with regard to that.
So what is it?
Brother Yusuf L sent a message, you know, just to give thanks for the documents that he received with regard to his honorary membership to the Canaanland Temple. If you are interested, or if you have the urge to give a donation to the temple, we're not going to say dues, because dues means that we have an obligation to provide certain service to you. And if you have an honorary membership in this temple, meaning that you're somebody who's a member of this temple but you're not in the jurisdiction of quote unquote Toronto, we don't have hand-to-hand contact with you. So if something goes down, we can't really assist on that level. But we can assist with information. We can assist with going through something. You need to send an email, you need a, you know what I mean, whatever advice or some contacts for people or whatever in different territories, we can do that. But we're not personally taking the role of administering for people who are outside of Canaan. If you want to pay your dues or your donations, or you know, you just want to support, you can send your finance through PayPal to culturaleducators@gmail.com. culturaleducators@gmail.com. All right. How can I get some newspapers out here so you can hand out? The best suggestion I make with regard to newspapers is Brother Abdullah Bay, MoorishCivilLetter.net, Moorish CIVILETTER, MoorishCivilLetter.net, and he has papers. He has a Masonic Gate. He has a Masonic Gate newspaper. Alright, so if anybody out there is looking for papers and you want, you know, to get on your, you know, your stool, your soapbox in your area to get this information out, I think there's 3 issues right now. And I believe the first issue and the third issue were sort of some of the most popular ones. But get our Brother Abdullah if you want papers. And as far as packages, DVD packages, it's the same thing. If that's what you want, send an email with a request of what you're looking for, and then we'll give you a price as to how much it'll cost to get that to you. Keep in mind that we have a standard, you know, little booklets are 5 notes, you know, we got it on the wall. Booklets are 5 notes. Books are, you know, 10 to 20 notes depending on what the book is. And DVDs are 3 for 20. 3 for 20 notes. So that's sort of what we got. Next question. Does Moorish come from the word Morisco? Definition of Morisco: a Spanish Moor converted to Christianity. And the word Christian comes from the word Cretan, C-R-E-T-I-N. Definition of Cretan: stupid, obtuse, or mentally defective person. Right? From French, dialectal, deformed and mentally retarded person found in certain alpine valleys. From Vulgar Latin, Christianus, Christian, human being, poor fellow. So Moorish comes from Moroccan. Okay, Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that we're Moorish American because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America. So when we hear about Moriscos, Moriscos are Moors that converted to Christianity. Moriscos are Moors who by will or by force said that they're not going to be dealing with the African ancient cultures or practices of their ancient foremothers and forefathers. They said that, you know what, because of this Christian taking over, we're going to adopt his religion as ours, and that's how it became Moriscos. When you also look up Morisco, you'll also find that Morisco means little Moor. So Morisco is also a Moor that was brought down in size, because the stature of the Moors is giant, and they know that they can't, you know, kill, destroy, influence, enslave, or whatever the giant. So they had to make the giant. They had to make the giant small in his mind first in order to have rule over them. Because Europeans know that the Moors are the founders of civilization. Europeans know that they wouldn't know anything if it wasn't for the Moors. So know that they have a jealousy against the Moors. You know, like they really have there's a kind of a jealous hatred that they have for the Moors. At the same time, they have an honor and respect for them, because when we look at, you know, Masons and all that, we see them dressing up like Moors. We see all their stuff is Arabic, and, you know, they deal with the sciences of the Moors in secret. They're not open with it. So they have to have some type of respect for it, to say we're gonna wear fezzes, to say we're gonna call our lodges Alhambra and Queen of Sheba and all these things that are tied to these so-called people who they say that they don't like, and they want to put them on a tree, or they want to do something to them, right? Any other questions, comments so far? Straight. The next question. The first one is that I would like to have another child, but looking at what is going to happen in the future with civil unrest, martial law, economic collapse, etc., it is not looking like a good plan. My only son is almost 3, and I really don't want him to be an only child, but I'm apprehensive about the future. What are other Moors doing? Well, there's Moors out there having children. They don't care about no martial law and all that stuff. That's not even an issue, right? You know, economic collapses and civil unrest are things that are I wouldn't say common, but it's things that happen. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes people who look both ways still get run over. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't look at it like what other Moors are doing. I would look at it like, you know, listen to what Noble Drew Ali said on the level of information. Like, he told the parents to take care of their children. You know what I mean? He told the mothers to take control. You know what I mean? He told the children, listen to your parents. You know, he told the fathers, make sure they take care of their wife and their household. You know what I mean? So, you know, being that, you know, your son is almost 3, it would be a good plan to focus on getting him right. You know what I mean? And if you want to have another child and you're capable of paying for it, then hey, you know what I mean? Do what you do. You know? The second question is that my driver's license is expiring in November. I plan to nationalize prior to that. I've been going to the meetings with Selah Bay and Supreme L in DC. Do I just reserve my rights on the license? I don't know if I feel comfortable at this time only using my nationality card to travel at this point in time. Right. So, one, because you corrected yourself, but we just want to put it on the record that any instrument that you're referring to from the colonists is theirs. Never ever refer to it as yours. As soon as you say my license, my passport, my social insurance number, my employment number at my job, my anything that you didn't create, you're giving the people who created that jurisdiction over you, because that's their stuff. And you're claiming it as your own. Right? And you don't want to claim those things as your own, because those things are not identifications or lawful documents. Those things are corporate documents that they use to keep people in bondage. So if you accept a license as my license, then you're accepting the bond or the bondage that comes with that instrument, because majority of these instruments are going to have a name on it in all capital letters with your face on it and your signature, proving that you authorize the bondage. So the second part of it is what you're talking about, that yes, what you want to do is reserve your rights anytime you are using these instruments. And like we tell people, you can go to Staples, Business Depot, or whatever, and you can get the stamp. But what you would do is all rights reserved. Let's say this is the line right here. They say sign here. So you write all rights reserved on the line, or stamp on the line. You can add without prejudice. You could add UCC 1-103, UCC 1-308, in brackets 207. And then over this you sign whatever signature that you've been using prior to coming into this information. And what this does, reserving your rights, means that if there's any type of, we'll call it challenge. If there's any type of challenge, you have a right reserved to go back to your nationality at any time. So don't worry about, oh, I have a license if you did this. Don't worry about it, ain't no big deal, right? Don't worry about, oh, a birth certificate if you did this, right? Because by you doing this, you actually void the instrument. You actually make the instrument not what it is, because putting this on somewhere that they say sign here, right, means that you are altering the contract. And by you altering the contract, because you know majority of the time, sign here, line, people just sign and they don't do anything. So by doing this, right, you're actually making conditions on this contract that you're signing, that you're putting your nationality, even though you don't put it, you're letting them know that you have rights that you're reserving. And as a living entity, only through nationality do you have any rights that anybody has respect for or honors or whatever, right? So all rights reserved at all times when signing anything with these people. Even if they got a little thing right here and then they put a little box, and they say, oh yeah, just put initials or whatever. You're still gonna, somewhere on here, whether in the box, through the box, whatever, you know, you might write all rights reserved like that. You might put, you know, ARR in there. You might write it around the box, you know, all, you know, rights reserved or whatever, and then initial. But you want to make sure that they know that you're not just giving them jurisdiction, because once you sign without reserving your rights, you give them jurisdiction. And this is the issue, that when you hear Moors get caught up because they did some UCC or whatever like that, it's because they filled out the UCC stuff thinking, oh yeah, free national name, I'm using my free national name, and they didn't reserve their rights. Which means that they can be held to that contract, that UCC contract, which is a fraudulent contract, because you know, you don't need to file a UCC package with some unknown or blank face being to get rights or sovereignty or anything like that, right? You had, Amari, you have a all rights reserved thing you could put on the record just for clarification on it working, and you know, like what it does, you know, from dealing.
What the all rights reserve has done in retrospect is that it puts them on their heels, because let's put it this way. If 100 people walk into their stores or into the venues that they have, they're not going to do anything. So once they see you do something outside of what they usually see, it's like, wait a second, I've never seen this before, right? Are we supposed to do this? Are we allowed to do this? Because remember, you're dealing with the front end people, like the tellers or the store clerks or whatnot. They don't know what is behind you saying all rights reserved. So they try and stop you. That's the first thing. But what happens is the management knows why you're doing all rights reserved. So they're gonna ask questions just to see if you know what you're doing. But once it's done, they have to honor it. My experience is like, for instance, a parking ticket. I've gone down there and I've done all rights reserved on the parking ticket. They've looked at it, it's like, boom, canceled. Because I've reserved my rights on that contract to go to court with them for the parking ticket. I've gone to banks, for instance, and CEO have called and asked, why am I doing this? Now this is the level where, as I said, all rights reserved, it has a very importance. Now, lately they've been trying to stop you from doing all rights reserved. But the question to them is, wait, are you offering me legal advice? Because they can't. You are reserving your rights on the contract that was put in front of you. They did not say that you can't do it. Right? So in retrospect, what you have to do is just do it. As Nike would say, just do it. Because you're reserving the rights, your inalienable rights that you already have. Like, entirely. So all rights reserved, the power of all rights reserved is that you are telling them that whatever you have on here, I better know about it. If not, I reserve my rights not to abide by it. Because if it's not told to me intrinsically within the contract, if you do not tell me about the contract, if there's something else outside of this contract, if there's an adhesion contract somewhere, and you haven't told me about it, well, it's null and void. So I'm reserving my right to know what that contract is all about. Period.
Islam.
Yeah.
And one more thing to add to that, because I just had an issue with that not too long ago. What they do to try to get you out of that is if you have a document, like say you go to renew their license, you have a document and they want to match your signature. If you have a document with all rights reserved, they're going to tell you that you have to sign that way. So it's best for all your documentation, everything you have signatures, all of them should have all rights reserved. So when you go to sign their license and they try to challenge you, say, listen, all my documents that I've ever signed for are with all rights reserved. Because that's how they try to get around me being able to put all rights reserved on the license, because they're trying to say, oh, well, that document you have there, it doesn't have it. And your signature needs to match that. So that's another important thing, to make sure all your documentation, you know what I mean? That you exercise with have all rights reserved on it.
But you got to start somewhere.
For sure, exactly.
You got to start somewhere.
How I got around that was, they were giving me so much trouble in the drive center, and I was like, you know what? They wouldn't let me go through. So what I did was let the paperwork go through, and then I went to the head office. And I said, listen, these little drive center people are telling me how to sign my life. Like, no. Well, however you want to sign it, go ahead, sign it. Because they know what it is, because they're head office now.
Exactly, that's exactly it. They're not trained to know that.
Exactly, so that's how I got around signing the license, because I went straight to the head office and said, listen, these people are telling me I can't sign this way. I'm like, is this your policy? Because obviously that's what you showed me, to say, yo, you're giving me legal advice. So I'm asking, is this your policy? You tell me how to sign. And they're like, no, blah, 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 sorry about that, and then I re-signed it there, and then they put the paperwork.
And they put the paperwork through. Right.
Exactly.
Any questions? No, he's good?
There's something I was gonna ask about the license.
Go ahead, ask.
But no, I was gonna ask, but it's gonna explain to me.
Oh, okay.
My license expired since the license has got expired since the 6th of August. But I learned about you guys, but I never been here. I just didn't go back till I get to know more about it.
And I mean, and as well too, like, it's really a spirit, like when we think about, for example, like back in the day, when people, back in the day, our time or whatever, when people, license suspended or whatever like that, they didn't care about nothing, they go out there still driving. You know what I mean? And you follow the rules of the road, you know what I mean? You try not to get, stopped or whatever like that. But, if you got stopped, you know that, okay, I might get a ticket, or, they might tell me, well, sorry, you can't drive or whatever. Park it up right here, send somebody back, as soon as the officer gone, you go back, jump in the car and go about your business. Because, circumstance, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's not something that is people are illegal, and oh, you have a license, oh, that's, you don't have insurance, oh my gosh, there's Supreme Court cases that put it on the record that license is not mandatory to operate a motor vehicle. Insurance is not mandatory, you don't need it. You know what I mean? So we like in having situations like that, it creates, it forces us to learn. You know what I mean? Just like people who've been, like the best people to be Moors are people who've been to jail. Because they have a frame of mind that, okay, well, when I was doing lawlessness or whatever like that. Even though I'm doing lawlessness, I know that judge is a fraud. I know that lawyer is a fraud. I know that correctional officer or whatever is a fraud. I know that they're violating certain things or whatever, but they don't really, it doesn't really register until they get onto this information that that's what lawyer meant when he said that. That's what the judge meant when he said that. So you mean I could have not did any time if I would have replied in whatever, because they have a reference point. You know what I mean? So when we say, you know, Moors don't need licenses, they have a right to travel, right? And you're speaking from the perspective of, well, I had a license and it's expired. So now, you know, I just kind of take my time and hopefully I don't get stopped. That's right to travel that you're exercising. You're really exercising your right.
Yeah, I want to be here.
But it's based on, you know, the instrument that you thought was a legit or whatever being expired. When that thing was expired when they gave it to you. Because they're also trying to tell you that you can use that as an identity. But if you're going to use that thing as a representation of your identity and it expires, then you shouldn't be sitting there right now. You should be expired. Right? And you're not expired. So obviously that thing has nothing to really do with identity, like how they push it. And then it comes back to the thing of, you know, once we study and things like that, things become more clear about what we've been dealing with in society that we think is society, which is really a private corporation. And it's not society at all. It's actually a concept. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, money is paper conceptually. That's not a fact. It's a concept that money is paper. And whoever's down with the concept, hey, you know what I mean? Take paper, give paper, or whatever. You know what I mean? But as soon as you start getting
Sorry, I think you reversed it. I think it's the concept that paper is money.
the concept that paper is money, yeah, right.
It's really paper.
Yeah, it's really paper. Yeah.
It's the concept that you make it money.
Right. The idea creates that value. Right?
And then just to follow up on what you were saying about the traveling part or the driving part is the fact that the reason why you're going through this to begin with on multiple levels is one, because we have been colonized. We've got an oppressive force that has got you in control, which is telling you you can only do this if you have this. Those are God-given rights that you don't need that for. But they have incorporated slavery. And what I realized a couple of days ago was, you know, this came down, I think, to another movie I was watching. I was talking about the fact that basically if we knew we were slaves, we would be revolting.
Right.
We would all be revolting if we knew that we were slaves. So the magic and the sorcery that they did is to make it seem like you're getting paid for something, that there's something actually going on that's really not that's not going on. That's the concept, that you're actually working and making money and doing all this stuff, and that is absolutely not true. If all of us knew that, then we would stop going to the slave tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right? So and then to further beyond that, the next step to that is because we as a people have fallen and we don't love each other, and we have become separated, why we continue to be in that problem, because we're not organized. And then they can pick us off one by one. And so those are the two different levels behind the driving part or traveling part, which Cujo was talking about, that your right to go from here to there in an instrument that can get you there is a God-given right. The fact that they say you have to have a license to do that, if you agree to that, then all of a sudden you're in the contract with them. And that's where it comes down to the whole reserving your rights, which is to say that I'm doing this now because right now I don't want to get shot down, right now we're not organized, right down all of this kind of stuff. So you're reserving your rights to fight them later, while still having to live under the occupation, which is really a result of the fall of our people as a whole. Because really, we should be gathering together, going down and marching on those people, and not marching, but going down there to tell those people we ain't putting up with your shit anymore, and moving on. And then the next part to that would be not going to their slave tomorrow and feeding them, because the same thing he's talking about with the paper and the money doesn't create the work, you create the money. You're the one creating that energy. that $20 bill has nothing to it except the value that you put to it. I'm gonna go do this for that. Then all of a sudden that has some value.
Right.
If not, it's just a piece of paper lying on the ground. And really it has no more value than this. This could be money if we all decided this was money. Right? But because they put some little thing on and they print it and then you agree to go do something for that, that's the sorcery behind it too. Right? And that's what I started to realize too, this is all just really a complex barter system where they put themselves in the middle of it by giving you the script.
In order to barter with it.
That barters with it. That's the commonality behind it. But really, you go to move my garbage and I go to clean your garden. That's the energy right there.
Right.
I go grow the vegetables, you go clean, or you go and build my house. That's the contract. But then they put themselves in between that with the paper, and then tell you, oh well, we need our cut from that, our tax. And then next year, that same $20 bill doesn't mean the same that it meant this year. It only meant 15. And then you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you give you a little more next year. The what do you call it? The rate of inflation, which really never matches up to the rate of the increase of the stuff. You know what I mean? It's a madness. So that's what I realized. Every single, and I was starting to think about this too. I was talking to this European, and she wanted to become a life coach. I was like, a life coach, she said, help people figure this shit out. I'm like, what the shit is this? I mean, that's what we should all be on. You know what I mean? Figuring out what we want to do in life. You know what I mean? And what speaks to us. But what they've done is every single thing that you have to do, you either have to have a certification, or a license, or something,
fill out some application,
or something. So really, sorry, I'll let you know. What they've really done is they've put themselves into everything that you do.
Exactly.
And say that you have to give me a piece of this. And this is a creator-given right that you can walk from here to there. Right? But they tell you to cross that street. If you don't cross in the red light, like they're telling you to do, then we're going to tax you. Right? Or the tax is the ticket, right? That they're saying. And then if you don't have the knowledge, which is the real thing that they've done, which is taken the knowledge away from you, the knowledge of your God right is what they've really. That's the real sorcery. The fact that you have to look to someone else for something. You and I both know you're not going to go hit that guy next to you. Like that's something that's innately born in you, right? But that's the stuff they take away from you. Sorry, what were you?
No. It's just more or less to add on in regards to the license situation. Is that could you pull up license in the law? Let's get a clarification on what a license is, because the fact of the matter is, you have a driver's license. You have a marriage license, you have a doctor's license, you have a lawyer's license, you have a politician's license. So I mean, you go down the road and the line of different licenses that you need to attain to do something. Now, what do you need to do with a marriage license? What do you need to do with a driver's license? Like, what profession is a marriage license? Like, you got to think about that, right? What profession is a driver's license? What profession is a fishing license? Like, you need a fishing license, for God's sake. You know what I'm saying? You need a guns license.
But then remember, even though you have a fishing license, you need a driver's license for the boat, not a boat license.
Huh?
That's crazy.
Yeah. You just give it to the elder and they'll
Right? So we have to really dig into that. It's like,
well, another thing that I
they got like a plate or something like that. Just
you want to get a plate?
So it's like you have to ask the question: really, what are these licenses for? Why do they exist? Because there has to be some alternative reason behind it. What is a license? That's the first question. Because if you have across the board, everyone saying you need a license for this, you need a license for that, license to go here, license to do this, license to open up a shop, like, what is a license?
You got it right there?
Yep.
All right.
License. Certificate or the document itself gives permission.
It's a long way out. Yes. So maybe just to...
right? Certificate or document that gives permission. Keyword, permission.
I had another thought just here too, as I was walking down to get the fries there, that another thing that they've really done, and this is through the sorcery too, which is through your energies and your cooperation with this, is the license is the contract that they get, that is created to have you hold you to their contract, but also is the buffer between them. Because an oral contract is one too, where I'm going to say, hey brother, I'm going to look after you, you're going to look after me. If you break that, then we've got a problem. The license is the thing. It's like the policy enforcer. That's the buffer. That's the space that they then have, and you can't go after them for the shit. You're going after the ens legis, the actual, that piece of paper ends up being the thing that you're really arguing about, not the actual activity or the actual person.
Okay.
It ends up being that. It ends up being that corporation, that corporate sort of fiction that ends up being, and you're signing it is what creates the energy, and then they get to step back and sort of just be, hey, you're dealing with the license. You're not dealing with the guy behind the license. Really, we should all be up in Harper's ass. You know what I mean? We should all be putting our foot in Harper's ass. Instead, we're dealing with the MTO, which is this entity.
Which isn't even MTO anymore. Now it's Service Ontario dealing with that.
Yeah.
So now it's a totally different jurisdiction now than they had it originally set up as.
Yes.
And then the head guy who we should really be dealing with, he's, you know, in whatever with people's tax dollars.
Yes.
When they should really be going at that individual, that minister of whatever. Which comes back to what we were saying about this class being about status. Because if your status is such, if your status is superior or supreme, then permission doesn't apply, because why would the superior need permission?
Exactly.
And then the second thing is, where's the permission coming from?
Exactly.
Who's granting the permission of the license? And then when you go check the record, you'll see that all the so-called license, I don't know, givers, right? All of them have become corporate, right? And if they're corporate, then that means that they're quasi, fake,
And dead, right?
artificial,
Dead entities, right? Corpses.
dead, and have no standing to even say that they're going to give permission. Because you have to be in a superior, supreme position to grant somebody a license. Your status has to be supreme in order to say license.
And I don't know if you had, because I
Get status?
I don't know
Oh.
if you can get status, but I'm saying I don't know if I stepped up. But a license is a right given to do something that is illegal to begin with. So
Right.
that's why you get a gun license. You're not supposed to have a gun, but we're giving you a license for that. So even the fact of driving license itself is a misnomer, because that would imply that driving is illegal to begin with,
right.
which it isn't.
Yes.
Driving or traveling is a lawful right. But then what they do, and that's where a license is something where it's like you've gotten the so-called certificate, which gives you the training to then operate. You don't need that training, right? You don't need that training to be able to walk from here to there. I mean, as you notice, they're already, what I've started to realize is there have been the attempts of trying to license you riding a bike now. That's, well, because down on Lakeshore right now, they've built this path.
That's the thing. That's the path.
And they now have
Bike lane?
The bike
not only
lane.
the bike lane, but they have a bike stoplight.
Yeah.
A bike stoplight?
Yeah.
Stoplight.
Oh,
You come to it, and and it's a red light,
Yep.
and it's red, and you're not supposed to.
Yeah,
and what I realized is that's the first steps.
Yep.
Right.
So
So
if
what? So I thought as I ran the red light, I said to myself, what would be the penalty here? Now what I
On
realized
your bike? You
I'm like-
walk, you,
No, I was on the
could you
bike,
walk
right?
Could you walk through the red light, or
You
gotta
can walk.
stop?
You can walk through the red
No,
light.
no, but most people don't walk through the red light.
So,
They just
but
stop.
what it was the fact of the
So,
matter is the way
social
that
engineering.
the way that they have
Social
set it up is that
engineering.
you have the roadway for the vehicles.
Yes.
Then you have a path, like sort of like that path that they have along the lake. And
Yeah.
you can rollerblade and
Social
bicycle.
engineering.
Well, because it's right downtown at Queens Quay, there's such a volume of people that they knew or know that there's going to be trouble with that whole concept, if you understand what I mean.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately you're going to have 500 people trying to travel and 50 bikes and 50
Right.
So what they now have to do is find a way of engineering the fact that we're going to have you going this way and you going that way.
To add to that, let's get a little more deeper. That's like the Illyrian dialect in the sense that they create the problem, offer the solution.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. It's like
Right.
the problem is, well, there's a stoplight now, so we all have to stop. But if we all stop, then some people are going to be coming this way, some people are going to go this way. All right, well then let's mandate that you don't go this
Make
way.
it work.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, that the next step would be then the licensing
The license
process,
for it, yeah.
which would be telling you if you see a red light, that means stop, and if
Yeah.
you don't, then we can fine you for
Yes.
that, right?
Yes.
And that's where it's all still about, trying to first of all, take finance for the actual process of running the licensing thing, right?
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
money for that,
Yeah.
and then you're gonna need the
Wow.
ticketing part to it too, right?
Wow.
So I realized that was the beginning part of it, which probably would mean that if I ran that red light and they stopped me, what would they be applying? Where would they be applying that red light stoppage to?
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? If I didn't so-called have a license for them
For
to
them to
then
even-
to attach it to, because
Yeah.
then I would just be I thought to myself, well, they're gonna find out from Omar.
Yeah.
Right? Sure, write Omar the red light ticket and let's go have this fight. But that's what I realized was them starting, and that's what the creation with the bike lanes is about, right?
Yeah.
Because what has happened is they haven't managed the city properly, so people are dying on their bikes because traffic and
Traffic,
bikes
yeah,
aren't.
yeah.
So now they're creating these bike lanes, and once people start effing
If
up
the
all
bike
these bike
even
lanes,
now they're gonna say,
then they're gonna start saying, well,
Yeah.
you need a license, which means you're gonna, now we're gonna be able to
qualify you to
Qualify.
ride in the bike lane.
Wow. So that was it was a very interesting thing to watch, see. I'd never seen a bike stop, like it was just it was just a stop sign for the
Yeah.
bikes.
They have a lot of them up north, like by like Jane and Finch
Okay.
area. Keene
Over
area.
there, bike lane,
Uh,
bike stoplights.
yeah.
So I think he was gonna read something, and I
Yes,
think that was
status.
from the status, but I thought from permission, I wonder, what is permit? Permit is the same as permit is an
Oh, yeah.
allowance.
Yeah.
It's an allowance, yeah, give you
Allowance,
permission.
yeah.
So it's sort of pseudo license, oh no, it's a temporary license probably,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But it's not necessarily a license to do it, it's just more a license
just more
to get it done.
To get it done.
Yeah,
Right, okay, so
so status.
Status, standing, state, or condition. The legal relation of individual to the rest of the community, So legal relation to the individual to the rest of the community. The rights, duties, capacities, and incapacities which determine a person to a given class. A legal personal relationship, not temporary in its nature nor terminable at the mere will of the parties, which third persons and the state are concerned. While term implies relation, it is not mere relation. It is not a mere relation. It also means estate because it signifies a condition or circumstances in which one stands with regards to his property. In the yearbook, it was used in this sense.
Right? So status ultimately means where you stand with regard to your estate. So you have to know that you have an estate to even understand why you should have a status.
Okay, well that goes in line with that question that you got earlier, where someone was asking in regards to how did they activate their estates.
Right.
So this is this, okay, all right, so status, all right.
Okay? So status, from a law perspective, is the first thing that needs to be established. And then remember in the definition, in status, it's talking about your position in society.
Yes.
Now, if status is the first issue at law, right? But status is tied to your standing, state, or condition in society, then that means the real court isn't those buildings that we go to. The real court is out here with our brothers and sisters that we have to know what status they are, so we know what their standing is, we know what their state is, and we know what their condition is. So Noble Drew Ali told the Moors to proclaim your nationality. He's telling us proclaim our nationality because we didn't have one. Or we lacked a status. So in order to have a status, then through his instructions, we have to proclaim a nationality. When you claim a nationality that is rights, duties, capacities, you claim a standing, you claim a state, and you claim a condition, that is known in law as propria persona. You have that there?
Hey, what is it says rights?
Rights, duties.
Rights,
That's a
duties.
duty.
No, I can see that. Rights, duties,
Capacities
of what?
or
incapacity.
Or capacities.
Incapacity. Okay. Still glare off. Of
Yeah, yeah.
I can't see.
Right, so this is the first thing. Nothing matters. You don't have, if you are violated, you have no remedy if you don't have a status.
Yep.
If you are making a claim against somebody, you can't make that claim if you don't have a status. Because the first thing that has to be established is status. Right? This is why when you go to those buildings called court, first thing they do is say your name, determine your status. So if you're dark skinned and you say my name is John Smith, right? You just proved that you don't have rights, duties, or capacities. You just proved your incapacity.
Actually, you might have proved your duty,
You might also prove your duty.
right? Because you would then be the product of the slave family, and your
Of
duty,
Smith.
and your duty would be to fulfill that
Fulfill whatever
contract.
obligation Smith set up. But not that you can benefit from it or whatever. You're just there because, you know what I mean? You claim to be that, which you're not. Which again, why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, proclaim your nationality, because under the names of black, Negro, colored, etc., those aren't statuses that apply to dark-skinned people. Right? Dark-skinned people aren't classified as black, Negro, colored, African, African-American, African-Canadian. That's not a status of an individual. That's a status of property. That's the status of corporate beings, right? So, Noble Drew Ali said, for example, Moors, be yourself. Moors have a status, right? And what we're getting to is the status of propria persona is where we want to be as Moors. You have it?
propria persona, in one's own proper person.
One's own proper person. Okay? In one's own proper person. So we have own, right? Which means that it's yours. This status of Moorish American as a nationality is yours because it's own, and then also one's, which means it's double yours. It's yours and you own it. Okay? The next page, oh, you lost it? The next page should have something to it. On the, it should be, you should continue on the other page. Right, so, as Moors, our position is to always make sure that this is on the record. And if this cannot be put on the record, that anything that we're dealing with involving status, our rights are reserved on it, so that we can have the opportunity to go back to status if things don't go the way that it's supposed to go. Right? In propria persona, and then on the top there should be some more.
It is a rule in pleading that pleas to the jurisdiction of the court must be pled in propria persona.
All right, so it is a rule in pleading. It is a rule in pleading that pleas must be made in propria persona. You have to be in the right status before you plead, right? Because if you're not in the right status before you plead, the next part.
Because if pleaded by attorney, they admit the jurisdiction. As an attorney is an officer of the court, and he is presumed to plead after having obtained leave, which admits the jurisdiction. In some jurisdictions, however, the rule is no longer recognized.
Right? So the people who are classified as Negro, black, colored people, right? Yeah.
I just had an interesting sort of thought there, though. It's interesting that they say that if the one point that they make is that if you don't plead within your own proper person, and if you let someone else plead, that you automatically give them jurisdiction. Automatically is telling you that that is probably the most important part to all of this. Mm-hmm. Right? The most important part is that if you get a lawyer, it's like a warning. If you get a lawyer from them to plead for you, you automatically are put in their jurisdiction.
Right? And then they're also letting you know that.
Well, and sorry, and what I'm saying is that to me that's indicating that should be a warning that's the one thing you don't want to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you want to have any ability to sort of to dialogue on this, you have to be outside of their jurisdiction. It's like saying that you need to be on equal footing with them.
Exactly.
The instant that you let this guy do that, you're under them.
Right.
Well, that's why they asked, are you a representative of that individual? You know, are you representing that person, or are you standing in for that person? Because right there, that's a jurisdictional issue as well too. Because you've just let go of that status. If you do not state that you're in propria persona sui juris, whichever, you've just let go of your status of standing on who you are. Right there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Okay. So they also let you know that by hiring an attorney, you give them jurisdiction, because an attorney works for the court. He doesn't work for the individual that hired them. That's why people have so much problems with attorneys, lawyers, or whatever like that when they have a big case, right? If they have a case that there has to be a trial, know that attorney is stretching it on, because he knows that the longer the trial goes on, the longer he gets paid. Period. They don't care about deals and cases and jail time and whatever. All they know is this guy's paying $500 an hour. This trial's gonna go on for 2 years, so we'll make it go on for 3 years. And then by the end of your trial, even if you win, you're broke, you have nothing, because you gotta pay them off. Whatever you get paid out, they're gonna get their cut. And you're probably not gonna get the remedy that you would have gotten if you were in propria persona and did it yourself. So the point of the matter is that have a status. Because if you don't have a status, you fall under anybody's jurisdiction. It might just be it might not be just an attorney, right? If you don't have a status, you fall under highwayman's jurisdiction if they stop you. If you don't have a status, you fall under CRA's jurisdiction if they send you a letter saying, you know, you owe money.
Exactly.
And keep in mind that status is tied to an estate. So this is why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors, Moorish, American. Because our estate
It's American.
is American. Our estate is the Americas. Our estate is what they refer to as the North Gate. Our estate is really the world.
Right.
But in the jurisdiction of the North Gate, the status that means something here, that gives power of attorney, right, is Moorish American. As far as dark-skinned people. So you're gonna have Moorish Americans that are gonna try to tell you that they're Cherokee, for example, and say that, well, you know, I don't want to be this because, you know, whatever, Noble Drew Ali, you guys, I don't really get down with that. So I'm gonna say I'm Cherokee as their status. All right, cool. When you check out Cherokee, Cherokee is under the Bureau of Indian Affairs as a status. So if you claim that you're Cherokee, then you fall under the jurisdiction that created that as a status. There are tribes of people called Cherokee, right? And the tribe of people called Cherokee existed before the Bureau of Indian Affairs. But the chiefs of the Cherokees made this part of that. The chiefs of majority of all the so-called tribes sold out the Aboriginal and Indigenous status, tribal status, and made it corporate under the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Because if you ask a Cherokee, they'll tell you that they're not Indian. They're Cherokee. If you ask a Chippewa, they'll tell you they're not Indian. They're Chippewa. But Indian is a term they use in European colonization. Okay, so then why would you be in the jurisdiction of something that the colonizer created? When you can be in the jurisdiction of yourself. And your real tribal chief is Noble Drew Ali. And he never sold Moorish Americans out to any bureau of any Indian anything. Because he told the Moors, you're not Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian. Right? Which all those terms tie you to some fraudulent or de facto status that has no standing at law. Right? Which is why we have situations where things happen and then our people march and whatever like that and they get nothing. But they don't get that, it's because they have no status. They think somebody hates them. And then they do something else and then that doesn't work and then, you know, somebody hates them more than they did last year. When it's because of status why there's an issue. For example, Brother Omar brought this in. Monday, August 17th, 2015. Start investigation. So this is an investigation that the newspaper is doing. It's not just an article that they wrote. they went and they investigated this. And then this is what they came back with, right? No stats kept on blacks shot by police. Right, no stats kept. So multiple so-called black people got shot by police, right? When they went to go check who got shot, whatever like that, there's nothing there about it.
Crazy, eh?
There's no info.
That's the start.
All they have is names, age, and when they were shot or whatever, and that's it. Nothing else, right?
Read the whole thing, it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm going there. You won't find data.
You want to turn the light or?
Nice guy, cause you won't find data on the race of those killed in Toronto because it isn't collected. And this was by Wendy Gillis, crime reporter. The outcry began with the shooting of Andrew Loku. Actually, let me clear this off right now.
And then read what his
Yeah. No,
Trevor picked up on that one.
I'm anxious right now. I'm anxious.
Oh, wow.
I'm anxious to put this down. Because, you know, this is how they put stuff in our people's face.
Well, and then
And
how,
people don't wanna
and then
get
how- and then also how they, if you notice how they do their social engineering, quantitative stuff to sort of, as you read on,
Right.
you're gonna see, start picking out the different terms and the different
Yeah,
things you'll see.
right,
So,
Yeah. But graduates.
Andrew,
So Andrew Loku. Now remember, this is about no stats kept on blacks shot by police. Right? The outcry began with the shooting of Andrew Loku, a South Sudanese man shot dead by police while wielding a hammer last month. The anger mounted 2 weeks later when the SIU, the province's police watchdog, announced no charges would be laid against a Peel regional officer who shot and killed Jermaine Carby, a black man carrying a knife despite tampering at the shooting scene by a fellow cop. Right? Jermaine Carby.
so you should put that Andrew Loku as South Sudanese
Yeah.
too, right?
Right. Right? So South
So basically how they jump from Andrew down to Jermaine
Sudanese.
within the same paragraph type of thing.
And identifying the South, and putting the two people together,
Together,
one being
yeah.
South Sudanese who has a nationality,
And one being Jermaine.
who doesn't have one, right?
And Jermaine, they're not investigating that part.
That's right.
Right? So status says that Loku ties him to some
Estate, okay.
estate. We know that Loku isn't over here. Right? So some estate. There's some estate that he's tied to.
Interesting. See.
Yeah.
Okay? Carby,
He's European.
that's European,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Which
all
ties to some type of
right. Estate, yeah.
estate, right? Or status.
Okay.
Now, if this is about blacks being shot by police, then we know that both these people
Oh, dark. Okay.
are dark people. You know, darker than a European, right?
Wow.
Why is it that one individual is classified by his estate, Sudanese, and specifically South? So that means that there's North Sudanese, East Sudanese, West Sudanese, and they're being specific to his status. But then Jermaine Carby is just black. Just black guy. Right?
Black people don't get it yet.
Okay.
Sorry. Just,
By the time demonstrators from Black Lives Matter TO blocked off the Island Road Expressway in late July, another black man,
okay.
Kwesi Skeen Peters, had been shot dead by police while wanted in connection with a recent double murder. Right? So now, so we'll just put him here under the black one, right? Quasi, Skeen, Peters. Right? Once again, where does that name Peters reply or go to? The name Peters goes back to an estate or a status. But that estate and status does not apply to this dark individual, because Peters is a European. And if he's dark, obviously he's not Caucasian, right? Now, another aspect that has to also be considered is etymology. Right? Because the etymology of black is really pale. Right? So black really means pale, it doesn't mean dark skin. So now we have a whole, now this is a whole different paradigm now. This is a whole different concept now that is going to throw all this stuff off now. Because if we're saying, you know, that dark-skinned people were the ones that got shot, but then they're saying there's no stats to keep blacks shot by police and black means pale, but there's no news about pale people getting shot. What are they really saying? Where are they really going? What it's really coming down to is that status is the only real signifier as to what a person is, what an individual is. And the status has to be determined by what nation they belong to. And if they don't belong to a nation, then they're going to fall in the miscellaneous category. Which black is that? Which Negro is that? African Canadian is that? Like, for example, anybody know any Nigerians, Ghanaians, or anything like that?
Yeah.
Okay. When Nigerians come here, what are they called? If they come from Nigeria to Canada, what do they identify them as?
Nigerians.
Nigerians, right? How come they don't call them African Canadians? Nigeria is in Africa, right? That's a fact. Okay, so somebody from Nigeria comes to Canada, but they don't call them African Canadian. But somebody who's born here, they call them African Canadian. Somebody who says that they're black, they came from a slave ship and all that type of stuff, but they're here, they call them African Canadian though. Somebody who comes from even the Caribbean islands, they'll classify them as African Canadian. But the actual people who come from Africa, they don't call them African Canadian. That lets you know that the status of African Canadian is not legitimate. It's not something that can be used to qualify what an individual is. Right? Because common sense says if Nigerians come over here and they're not classified as African Canadian, then nobody should be classified as that. Because they're the only real ones that should be classified as African Canadian, because they are from Africa. So they have this miscellaneous
Just confusion.
They just have this thing that they do, right? Of if you don't state what your status is, then they're gonna assume what it is. Mm-hmm. Right? He didn't have to state anything because his name ties him.
Well, you know what? Another
Right?
thing that just came to me now with this,
Yeah.
what I think really happened there was I think that Angelo Q's nationals, they made a stink on a national level.
Right.
And I think the response was that this writer, due to the fact that she's part of the whole scam, she then did what these people do, which was created confusion. Because if you notice how the article's written, it first starts off with Andrew Loque, the South Sudanese was shot, they're complaining about him, but then she very quickly doesn't go into any parts of that. She very quickly then just throws in 2 other black people into it.
Right.
So all of a sudden, now
It just appears like
now it's confusion.
Yeah.
Now what you realize, you now have all of them lumped into one.
into one jurisdiction.
Right?
Yeah.
But really, they're not.
Right.
But she hasn't identified that.
Right.
Neither has she identified any of the situations. And then in the end part, what she then does is bring out that he's really been. She then sort of brings out through. I think this is the sorcery that they do. They then bring out this horrible fact that he's been accused of a double murder.
Yeah, right.
Right. So then
Throw you off a little.
but never talks about what Andrew's done
Yeah.
or what the next guy has done. Right? So now you've compiled everyone into that. So go on. But I just realized that that's what they did there.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I read the article, I was very confused. South Sudanese, black and black, but then they talk about this last black guy having killed these people, but then they haven't gone into anything else about that. And really the article was, first of all, about the stats.
Right.
Yeah.
That they don't have.
That they don't have.
What you talking about?
But she's talking about stats though.
Right.
She's bringing up stats though.
Right.
But
exactly.
they don't have stats.
Right.
For blacks.
Basically saying blacks don't have status.
Right? Right. No stats kept on blacks.
Right.
Right? Right? How will we do this? No stats kept on blacks. There's no status. They can't go anywhere and look anywhere in the world and find a reference point of so-called blacks having a status.
That's the sorcery. That's the linguistic stuff.
The linguistic game that they're playing. That they're letting people know Monday, August 17th, 2015, that black is not a status. They know this. But, you know, if we let them tell it, you know, they'll call you black all day and it wouldn't even mean anything. Right? Any questions, comments?
I had one comment.
Yeah.
Goes back to the license, the licensing. It was an interesting video I watched with I don't know if she was Ghanaian or Nigerian, but it's this woman. She has a little show, and she gets dragged down by the policy enforcers. And the policy enforcers like, let me see your license, and she's like, for what? It goes on, and this is just to show you that everything's a perspective of the mind, because when she does ends up giving them the license, the policy enforcer like, when the license expired, and she's like, so? She's like, you went to school in, let's say, she's like, you went to school, you got your diploma. She's like, they didn't put a date on the end of that diploma. She's like, just because it's been 5, 6, 7 years now, doesn't mean that you forgot the information. So she's like, I went, I learned how to drive, I got my certificate of how to drive. Just because it's expired now doesn't mean I forgot how to drive. And she was just going on dialogue, and what that's showing people is that, listen, they say you need to get a license to drive. You get the license, but they're telling you got to renew it every 5 years. Like in 5 years, you forget how to drive. Once you learn how to ride a bicycle, you know how to ride a bicycle.
It's even like if you're not traveling with, or even if it's suspended. Like, okay,
that
it's
doesn't stop
suspended,
you.
so all right, so my knowledge of it is suspended now.
Exactly. So that's how let you know everything's a perspective of the mind. Because like I said, you learn how to ride a bicycle, you always know how to ride a bicycle. You learn how to rollerblade, you always know how to rollerblade. You know how to swim, you always know how to swim. Same thing with traveling in your car. Once you learn how to operate that car, that's it. Like, you're not gonna forget, unless you're suffering from some serious case of amnesia, which therefore puts the license, makes it invalid. Why it would need to be renewed? Right. So that was a good. I remember the show. I'll show you guys. But she's a comedian.
Yeah.
So she's making a joke about it. Like, so she goes to the policy enforcer. She's like, listen, do you have to retake your test every 5 years to be a policy enforcer?
Just eating them up.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just so many.
Another thing too that I want to touch on as well is ex-relation in relation to status. You can check that up in the dictionary there. So everybody's clear on status. Indeed. What it is.
I mean, there's more to add to it.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, for instance,
throw it up.
I got a question a couple of weeks ago in regards to just put up there Moorish American. Now, people say, well, that's not a nationality. Okay, that's fine. Like Moorish, for instance, is an adjective. Right? So,
But more isn't.
but more isn't. But no, let me just get to it. It says that we also have saying Moorish architecture.
Yeah.
We have Moorish building, Moorish clothing, Moorish society, Moorish culture. So what does an adjective do? An adjective describes. So Moorish American. In other words, this American is a Moor.
Wow.
The next thing we could add in terms of adjectives is aboriginal. Then you have original. Then you have indigenous. Those are all adjectives as well. So what you need to do is, what type of aboriginal? Because the adjective describes. So if you have an aboriginal Indian, okay, what's an Indian? Where does an Indian derive their status from? If we say Indian, we say India. India is over there, so they're aboriginal to India. So over here when people say, well, I'm aboriginal, okay, well, aboriginal what? Because aboriginal being an adjective, it falls under the same line as I'm black.
Right.
Because we have black Moor. Because it's an adjective describing a noun. So when we say we're aboriginal, if we say we're aboriginal Moors, original Moors, indigenous Moors, we finish that. We can't just say we're indigenous, we're aboriginal, because that falls under status.
Right.
Because you're just basically saying you're an adjective. Okay, well, you're aboriginal to what? Aboriginal to the chair? So I'm saying? So when regards to status, we have to get very, very specific in how we approach it and what we say. So go back to Moorish American. Moorish American states that the whole continent, the Moorish is in line with the culture, which is American. It's in line with the customs, it's in line with the people, and it's in line with the land. That's the bigger picture. But we gotta be specific when we say things. If we say we're Moorish, well, Moorish what? Still falls on the status. Because they're all adjectives, but what does that adjective describe? You know what I mean? So when we hear a lot of times when on the news, well, the Aboriginals over here, the Aboriginal, the indigenous people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, indigenous to where? Indigenous what? Right there we acquiesce because we do not pull them in line and say, okay, well, you're Aboriginal Indian. Okay, great. Go back to India. In a sense. Because Indians are not Aboriginal to here in terms of the name itself.
Yeah, that's similar to Europeans saying white.
Exactly.
Or American.
Exactly.
And nobody's challenging on what's your position in that, right? You're not just gonna say, I'm a doctor, and live your life as a doctor. You never did no operations, nothing like that. You don't have an office. But you're a doctor. There's things that go with it, right? And what they do is cut off the things that go with it so they can claim the title. And once they claim the title, then they claim the estate. So you have Moorish American and people who fall under this jurisdiction saying that, well, I don't know about Moorish because Moorish is an adjective and black's an adjective, and then if I'm not black, then why would I be Moorish? Right? Now, when you look up Moorish, it tells you that Moorish means pertaining to the Moors.
Exactly.
That's what it means. Whether there's an ish on it, whether there's Moorish on it fully, whether you're gonna put a hyphen right here, whatever, it means pertaining to the Moors. So when we say we're Moorish Americans, that means that these individuals are relative to the Moors, but they're in the Americas. Right? They're not the Moors in Africa. They're not the Moors in the Philippines. They're not the Moors in Europe. They're not the Moors in Scotland, whatever like that. These are the Moors that are dealing with the jurisdiction of the Americas only. So when we say that we're Moorish American, right, we're really, since this pertains to the Moors, we're really Moroccan American. If we really want to say we don't want to be Moorish, right? But then we can't really be Moroccan American because America
Is Moroccan.
It is Morocco.
America comes from Al Morocco,
So we're saying America.
which is Morocco again.
So it's
Which is Morocco.
Moroccan and Moroccan.
So we're Moroccan. You say that, you sound kind of stupid, people, because, you know, why would you call yourself African? You know, it doesn't make sense, right? So Juali compress this into this so that we can have a status that nobody else has. Because remember, nobody else claimed this. When we look at Moorish history, you're not going to find somebody claim this until 1913. So this is a specific jurisdiction, this is a specific status, this is a specific nationality that was created for individuals in America that were classified as Negro, black, colored, slave, and everything else that they were not. And the only way that they're going to tie themselves to this is by tying themselves to the principles that Noble Juali laid down for the Moors. And once we tie ourselves to the principles, then we can claim that. And then the principles are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Right? And we're putting this out for people who think that your status as Moorish American has to come from some building or some grand whatever he calls himself, and you know he's the one that put you onto this info, so now you're Moorish because of him. You're Moorish because Noble Juali told you that you're a descendant of Moroccan born in America, so you're Moorish American. That has nothing to do with Moorish Science Temple. Doesn't have to do with Moorish Divine National Movement. Has nothing to do with you know a structure that was created or founded by an individual. This has to do with, are you willing to, one, acknowledge that this came about because of Noble Juali. Even if somebody takes this off and says more American, that's still because of Noble Juali. Right? So if Noble Juali knows, or if Noble Juali told the Moors that they are Moorish American, more American, whatever, their duty as that is to live by the principles that he laid down. And once you live by these principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, I guarantee you that no matter what you face, your status is going to be acknowledged and respected. Leave any one of these out, leave anyone out, you're going to have problems. Which is why people have problems. Which is why you always have these things, well, I don't know the Moors because they have that Moor, he got arrested for something, and no Moor, he got whatever. Because more than likely, one, those individuals are they're so powered up by this that the colonizers realize that that individual is a threat, get them out of circulation, right? That's why they're arrested. Or they violated one of these. That's why they're arrested.
Exactly.
And the importance, again, of status is that it ties you to a state. Once you have a status, you're tied to an estate. And if your status is black and there's no estate called that, your status is black, but there's no black estate, then you fall under the jurisdiction of whoever coined this. Wherever this came from, that's the jurisdiction you fall under. Right? You had explanation?
Ex relation. Upon relation or information. Legal proceedings which are instituted by the Attorney General or other proper person in the name and behalf of the state, but on the information and the instigation of an individual who has private interest in the matter, are said to be taken on relation, bracket ex relation, of such person who is called the relator. Such a case is usually entitled thus State ex rel. Doe versus Roe. In the book of reports, when the case is said to be reported ex relation, it is meant that the reporter derives his account of it not from personal knowledge, but from the relation or narrative of some person who was present at the argument.
So ex relation is used proclaim that you're a Moor, right? So you're a Moor, right? Now, this is your status. This is true and this is absolute. This is what you are without doubt or contradiction. Nobody can change this. Somebody named, for lack of a, CRA, Canada Racketeering Agency, they send you a letter, right? Saying that you owe 5,000 for something, whatever, right? You owe 5,000 for something. And they tell you, the Moor, that you owe 5,000, but they sent it in this name that you had before you were Moor. In you dealing with CRA as a Moor, this is ex relation to you. Meaning that if your status is this, and someone's trying to classify you as something that you're not, you are going to take authorized you're going to take authorized representation, right, of this. Because the reality is that John Smith, written in all capital letters, or whatever name you were born with, written in all capital letters, is not a human being. It's not a living being, it's a corporation. So because this name is written in all capital letters, that means that it's a corporation. That means it can't be you. But they're trying to make you be the corporation. Because if they get you to be the corporation, then that means that they have jurisdiction. Because the status of the corporate person is corporate, not living. So, being the authorized representative of this, according to the definition of ex relation, must be by the Attorney General, or some other proper person. And the proper person is the Moor. Because, like we said, the status of the Moor is in propria persona, in one's own proper person. And the definition of ex relation says that ex relation is someone who is the Attorney General or a proper person. And if the proper person is identified, then the corporate tag, the corporate brand, is ex relation to this individual. So if CRA sent me something and I'm writing them back Cujo L ex relation, all caps name. And any engagement that you have with them is going to be dealt with speaking from that perspective. Because if you say Cujo L without ex relation, right? They're going to keep sending stuff just to this name and leave you out of it all the time. Because you didn't specify that the Attorney General does not have jurisdiction over this. Right? So, because the Attorney General, remember, is attorney, because he's Attorney General and he works for the court, what the court does is that, or any entity, is what they do is that once you address your proper person without ex relation, they're going to take jurisdiction over the straw man or the all capital letters name, and they're going to do whatever it is that they want. Because the Attorney General, who's an officer of the court, contracts with the people who are coming at you so that they can have just as much jurisdiction over this as the Attorney General does, in order to send you the letters over and over again, to keep sending you stuff, keep calling you, keep doing all these things, because they got their jurisdiction to do that from the Attorney General. So when we say status, that stands when we're dealing with each other or whatever, right? As soon as you start dealing with the colonists, the racketeers, the embezzlers, the people who are in possession or causing the occupation of your land, the name that they brand you with is always ex relation to yourself. Right? Because being that we're under occupation, there might be certain circumstances where we have to use this still. There might be certain circumstances where we still have to put this name down for certain things. So one, if we're going to put this name down, we're going to reserve our rights. And two, if a challenge comes with this name, we are going to address whoever's challenging us as the Moor ex relation, that name that they're coming at you at. Which in both cases, whether reserving the rights or using ex relation, you kind of put them in a spot where they're going to have to give up something to move forward. They're not just going to be able to move forward, because if they move forward, then they're admitting that you're this. They're admitting that there's such a thing called ex relation, They're admitting that this is not a real entity, because, you know, if this was a real entity, then you would just be that. But if you're saying that you're X relation, which means that you're not that, the next question that comes up is, what's this? And then they're gonna have to talk on what's that before you can even do anything, because what? Status is the first issue at law. And the first issue in any controversy is all the parties that are involved with it, they gotta put their stuff on the record. They gotta put their name on the record. They gotta put some type of paper that gave them authority to say that they are Superior Court of, Supreme Court of, Ontario Court of, Municipal Court of. They need something in writing to show that they have the authority that they're claiming to have. So whenever I get something from CRA saying I owe, my first thing is to put my status on the record. I am Cujo. X relation, this name that they're coming as, and challenging them on where did they get their authority to be CRA. And it can't be told in verbal. They have to have something in writing. They have to have something signed. They have to have something hard copy to show. And if they don't have something hard copy, more than likely, they're not who they say they are. And if they're not who they say they are, then what are you paying them for? There's no need to give them anything. Right? So that was today's class on status. I think there was a couple more questions. Let's touch those. If anybody got some comments or whatever, feel free to present.
Oh, no, I'm liking going back to the basics.
Yeah. Straight.
Yeah.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So say in regards to the company that I created, I could use XREL when, like, say if I'm dealing with some other entity, I could use XREL like when I'm replying in regards to my business. So I could do
that's
that.
corporate.
So
A corporation.
Exactly. And I'm not the corporation.
And you're not the corporation.
Okay, so
but it depends on what you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with something corporate with them, then you just use the corporate name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's something personal that they're trying to tie to the corporation, then yeah, you XRL so that. Or if it's something business that they're trying to tie to personal, then you say XRL. You know what I mean? Supreme XRL, so that they know that they're dealing with you. They're not dealing with the corpse at that time.
Okay.
All right.
Well, to add to that as well,
Yeah.
too, what we have to be careful of is you just mentioned the word mine. Because once you have signed over to that entity, it's not yours anymore.
Yeah, like when you register, it's no longer yours.
It's not no longer yours because you just registered with them.
Yeah.
So there's a license where you ask for permission, can I do business now?
Same thing with the corporation.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So you could already do your business already,
We're 100%.
right?
They
So
talked to me about that too.
go ahead.
And they even give me a ticket that I just ignored years ago.
About?
My license, I didn't get one. To operate my business.
Oh, they give you a ticket for that.
Yeah.
You said they give you a ticket for operating this business without a license.
Because I told them I'm just self-employed. I'm not working for the
Yeah.
company.
But
What
see,
type of business
yeah.
was it?
Body work and scars.
Okay, well, there lies an issue because you're dealing with items that's within their corporation. So if you're dealing with that, like for instance, the VIN number, that VIN number belongs to a particular vehicle that they own,
that's registered.
that's
to,
registered to them. So you're basically operating on their property. So yes, in their eyes, you're gonna need a license to operate on their property. Because if anything happens, insurance gets involved with that.
because that individual that comes to your shop,
Yes.
that's not their car.
No.
They assume that that's their car because they have something called ownership,
Yes.
right? But the ownership is really from the ministry. It's not them. It's not their ownership, it's the ministry's ownership. So the ministry is looking at it like, well, if you're gonna have a shop, you need to be registered.
Yes.
So that when people bring our property to you under the disguise that it's theirs, you know, you could do whatever, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right now, if you're a free national, if you're a Moor and you have that business, now they're coming into your jurisdiction. They're taking it on themselves to come on your side of things, right? Which they, as the holders in due course of the ownership, have a right to contract with whoever they want to when it's time to fix their car or get detailed or whatever. You know what I mean? So part of it is the fact that the individuals who bring their stuff to you, their stuff is registered, so that means it's not theirs, it's somebody else's property, right? And you being so-called having to register your business with them is what makes everything run so smooth and good. As soon as you disconnect from them, they're trying to make your stuff hard. Because now there's no middleman, like we were talking about earlier. As soon as the middleman gets taken out of the way, now he's not getting his cut. He has to go get a job. He has to go do something with his life. He can't be a leech anymore, living off of people.
But what they do is the sorcery that they use is they then, under the guise of some sort of certification or safety or some policy, that they say, oh, well, you can't operate without having a license, or your shop has to be safe. Under those guises, they then continue to put themselves in it. Same thing with the driving, so to speak, right? They say you have to have a license because they want to make sure that while you're driving, that you're driving safely. So it's always under the guise, they always use a distraction to then implement their interaction in your business, which should really just be between me and you. They pretend that they have to be involved there to be the watchdog to make sure everything's all right. Well, to do that, we need our cut. And if you infract, then we need our cut. And then if you happen to be one of the people that we know own the land, we're going to try and tax you even more to keep you off your game. Because it's really still, yet again, as I told you, the next level is really yet again about making sure that you don't get ahead. That's really the game behind it. Really the game is about you never being stable enough or never being able to leave for your children.
Exactly.
Alright? Exactly. And that's how they do, even like when to jump ship, even the marriage license. That's to keep themselves involved in all of the interactions of the family, even in particular with death. Then you have to be looking after the different estates, which then are still being run by the corporation, the head corporation, which then is taking money out of your offspring's hands. But then they give you the guise of giving you certain tax rebates as being under the same family name. Once you get married, you get this discount, this discount, this discount. Yeah. That's just to allow them into your pockets.
Well, you should rebate the tax in the first place.
Huh?
Right. So the rebate is unnecessary.
Right. But what they do is as even my mother, what I realized is they were living together common law for the longest time. Yeah. And what they started to realize was that there were all these little incentives under the tax so-called umbrella that they could get once they became married.
Yeah.
And then they went and did that contract, right?
Then everything fell to shambles.
Well, yeah, and then they realized the negativity behind it, but as I said, they're always sort of distracting you with the stuff on the surface, right? So that's where it is, and that's where I say, yet again, to the third level, it still then is about us coming together and working together with each other and bartering with each other and keeping them right the hell out of everything.
Yeah.
But that's the levels of it. The first level is to realize the scam, the second level is to disconnect, and the third level is to really work within to then keep them out.
Right.
Right? But that's going to take time. And then really, the first level to all of that, because we already know we're in it to this extent, is really to be educating and giving the knowledge to the young ones who then then it becomes part of their cellular stuff, and they're doing that just naturally.
It's just natural that they reserve their rights and stuff.
Well,
It's
and natural that they're working with each other. Natural that natural that they're then going to be doing business with each other.
Opposed to
loving each other, right? Opposed to this madness.
working with the other stuff, yeah. Right. That's why there was probably 2 more questions or whatever.
You still got, 5.
Yeah, there was couple questions, but they're extensive. They'll go on for a half hour or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Right, hold on, let me see if there's any. Oh, we will put this out there. Make sure you go out and you watch Hillary Clinton's meeting with the Black Lives Matter people, secret meeting.
Oh shoot, yeah?
Yeah. So, Hillary Clinton met with the Black Lives Matter people, and the stuff she's laying down on them, right? Lets them know, you guys don't got your stuff together. Why? Is it because you're unorganized? No. Is it because you don't know what you're doing? No. Is it because you have things that, you're making requests about that need to be addressed, and people aren't addressing them? No, she admitted that, yeah, we didn't do we owe you guys, a lot. I mean, we didn't deal with you guys properly or whatever. But she couldn't just come out and tell them that black lives don't matter. She couldn't say it like that. But she beat around the bush enough that something should be going off in their head, like, damn, why did she say that or whatever? Why she refer to certain things? But that's to see where it goes. But matter of fact, they interviewed them after the thing, and they said, the same stuff. Oh, and the white society is gonna say what they want to say to make sure that the black people don't get whatever, and she wasn't right, but she was right on with them.
You guys hear that? How is the European that got ousted for creating Black Lives Matter?
A European made that?
European man.
Say that again?
It was all over the news. It was a European who created Black Lives Matter.
Oh shit!
But a European dude acting like he's quote unquote black. Like the racial, same scenario again.
Yeah.
Dude just got ousted, like, he had the fade. You know what I mean? He had to touch up a bit, so try to kind of pass.
Yeah.
As one of us, and some more. You know what I mean? But they did another investigation on this dude. Came back to European family. Came back to being a European dude. It's a European guy.
Wow.
That created Black Lives Matter.
Created Black Lives Matter, right?
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah,
100%. That's what I said.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Black means pale, right? So dudes like, yo, I don't see what I did wrong here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm the true racial one. Yeah, straight racial one. What did I do? I'm not African American. I do consider myself black though, but I don't consider myself African American.
100%. So I thought that was interesting, man. That was on Facebook too, man.
Yeah, what are they gonna say now? It's like, oh shoot, we're in the wrong group.
That's true.
Wow.
Any more questions or comments, anything like that? Don't forget, next week Saturday we got our little barbecue going on. We have 5 Principles Catering doing their magic, their food magic. This was Brother Omar had the idea that the Moors have to start getting together, especially out here in our jurisdiction, getting together, doing certain things together. So this is just with Allah's will, first of many.
Exercising.
Yeah, first of many of us.
The gatherings.
Of the gatherings. You know what I mean? Drew Ali made a statement.
On possibly on social levels.
Yeah.
More so than organized class levels.
Classes and whatever else. You know what I mean? Some
enjoying
personal levels. Yeah.
And enjoying
nature, enjoying the weather or whatever else. Drew Ali made a statement that when the Moors are happy, he's happy. So this is just one of those things that we're gonna do, you know what I mean? Just to, the Moors chill, you know what I mean? Don't worry about nothing, just come chill, eat some food, hang out, whatever. It's gonna be at Wilkett Creek Park, which is at and Sunnybrook Park, which is at Leslie and Eglinton, just north of Eglinton on Leslie, and that's gonna be starting up at about 12 o'clock. on next week Saturday, 29th.
Well, I'd like to put it on the record quickly. As we know, every year we celebrate Noble Jubilee Day. And
You want to do that up here?
no,
Okay.
I'm just putting it out there, just
Yeah.
more or less for next Noble Jubilee Day for all the members or all the Moors online. Everyone is invited from the whole jurisdiction around North and South America.
The Americas.
The whole Americas, the whole world. So we're looking to do it, I wouldn't say bigger than we've always done, but just more or less everyone's invited. And this year we want everyone to come through in their culture. In other words, we're in a Moorish garb from our ancestors for the next one that we're going to be having. So just putting it out right now, but we're going to be giving out more information as we go. It's going to be for next year, January, but we want to start it right now, you know, like get
Just
it
getting
popping
the
up.
thoughts up there.
Yes. So, yeah, that's it.
All right.
Wow.
Islam to all the Moors. Peace to all the Moors online for, doing what you do. You already know. We'll close out with a prayer.
No,
5 on the left, 2 on the right. Face the east. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through His holy prophet. Noble Jubilee. Islam.
All right.
Like a beanie cap or something.